The virtual space and the real world are kind of emerging and coming together.
What kind of tools do we have at hand that can make an e-commerce business much more efficient?
We have this kind of luxurious position at the moment to see the future right in front of our eyes. The question is whether we want to accept this or not.
Most of us wish that these tools could just talk to each other, because they would do it at a velocity that we cannot even comprehend as human beings, and that just would change the journeys forever.
If we really want to move forward, also in the German space, we have to work in this collaborative way of really empowering one another to find new solutions, also in this very regulated space.
I think in e-commerce this will open so many doors. Like actually, for me the biggest question is when. Welcome to the EGN Podcast, powered by the e-commerce Berlin Expo. I'm your host, Efe von Thenen. Today we're going to discuss how generative AI is simplifying e-commerce. I know there's been endless talk about this lately, but this episode is cutting through the noise to focus on what's actually working today and what's coming next that could completely reshape the industry. Our guest today is Anna Graf, Innovation Leader for Emerging Tech at Arvato Systems. Anna has spent years working with technologies like AI, Web3, NFTs, as well as augmented and virtual reality to help businesses adapt and grow. Together, we will discuss the real, practical ways Gen AI is streamlining e-commerce processes and how it's about to evolve in ways that will affect everything from how we shop online to how brands create exciting experiences. So, if you're ready to understand what AI is really doing for e-commerce today and what's coming next, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Anna, welcome to Berlin. Also took a ride from Hamburg. And you're one of those really, really lively people. You almost have you're like an octopus managing so many projects at the same time, dealing with AI, dealing with Web3, dealing with AR, VR, all kinds of new tech. I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit better today. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers also. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Efe, it's so funny. We both came from Hamburg to meet here in Berlin, but I think it's just the perfect location to talk about all these different topics that I would say is emerging tech. And this is how I also introduce myself. I am Innovation Lead Emerging Tech for Arvato Systems. We are the IT for Bertelsmann, which I think many people know. It's the biggest media company in Europe. And basically, we look into what should be next, what could be next, and where can we build stuff that is not only cool, but also works for businesses.
Yeah, and this is exactly how I want this conversation to go today, talking about what is possible today in terms of generative AI and how this technology can improve e-commerce businesses, and also going towards the end of the conversation, what's possible in the near future, what's coming, and what we should gear ourselves towards. Very excited to hear your thoughts. You have quite a large network that I was thinking perhaps we could also touch upon the topic of women in tech. I don't know if that's a term that you like to use, but you also have a leadership position in this man-dominant industry, so to speak. Maybe we can also break the ice with that. How's been your experience all these years working with a man-dominant industry?
Yeah, it's very interesting because as a woman, of course, I realized that in many rooms I was the only woman for over a year, especially when I started in the NFT space. Before I went to Arvato Systems, I was working for a gallery here in Berlin, the König Gallery, with Misa.art, and I was the first director NFT. And of course, it sometimes felt like, okay, where are the other women? Are there any most of the time there were none, but I never felt uncomfortable. I have to say that I always felt very supported because the space itself, and I think this goes for all topics that are new, nobody's an expert.
Yeah.
And this is why I would always even say, if you're a woman, try it. It's just, you cannot lose anything. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
We are all like digging, where is the gold nugget? Where can we find something that is valuable? And we are all in the same position. And I would just say that what I have learned is men say yes, and women tend to say, no, I'm not good enough for that. And I want to empower, and maybe this is my message always, just give it a try. If you fail, you fail. Then you can try it again, but you haven't lost anything. Maybe you have learned something. And I think this is so important. And as I said, I always felt empowered, especially also by men. I had a lot of mentors and people who helped me, who were talking about networks. I never felt that I could not ask.
Yeah.
And I always feel that most people are maybe hesitant to ask, but many people don't know the answer. And finding somebody who knows the answer and who can help you, oh, it's so good to be with people who know more than you. It's the best thing you can do. And especially when it comes to generative AI.
Yeah.
Like we tested in 2021. I still remember like these GANs, where we had these first pictures. And, look, there is really a fire. It looks like a fire. Yeah. And then 2 years later, we have perfect images. And I imagine like working in marketing 3 years, 4 years ago, you had all like Shutterstock and you were looking for images and you didn't find the right one.
Got so much easier, didn't it?
And now for a presentation, I just prompt like, I need this and this. And I get a perfect image. And I can use so many different tools. I myself, for the license rights and the IP rights, I do use Adobe for that, but we also work a lot with different startups to integrate this IP in our solutions. And we want to talk about solutions today. And I think there are a lot on the market. And let's maybe talk about how this also can help e-commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely am super curious about your thoughts in terms of the tools that can, or like also real life examples, how this technology is helping businesses today. But before I get into that, I want to ask you once again to go back to the topic of diversity. How did you take the decision to move into tech in the first place?
I think for me it was a lot of curiosity, and I think that my life is a little bit different from many other people's lives. I raised 2 children, so this was basically what I did in the past. And then, there was this strange thing called COVID, and everything was shut down. At that time, I had established a business network for women already in my hometown, and it felt like, okay, nothing is happening anymore. So I started to do social media. And this is also maybe why my first connection was, in fact, this kind of commerce thing, because then I opened a little shop. When all the other shops were shut down, I opened a shop and also an e-commerce shop to
what did you sell?
Able to sell all the Christmas stuff, because the Christmas markets were closed. So I rented shelves to people who would normally sell on the Christmas markets.
Yeah. Like a small marketplace?
I had the only small marketplace, but of course I also needed to sell online because many people were not leaving the house anymore. So I kind of did this all from scratch by myself. If you would say in a hotel, I was really starting like from bottom, doing everything that people should be doing. Maybe now for me, I learned all of this myself. I had all the metadata, I had all the products. I had to do this all by hand,
manually.
So this is why exactly I now feel, oh my God, all the things that are coming. If I had them in 2021, I would have saved so much time. It would have been so much more efficient, but it was not existent then.
Maybe that's a perfect gateway to talking about tools that you mentioned. You mentioned that in comparison to 2021, we've come a long way. There are lots of tools that are out there that can make marketers and e-commerce people their life much easier. Can you tell us a little bit about, like talking about what's possible today, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of tools exist out there? I mean, ChatGPT, I think everyone knows about already.
I think so.
What kind of tools do we have at hand that can make an e-commerce business much more efficient, much faster, and much more successful?
Yeah, let's just get into some touch points where I myself see an improvement. For example, the product information management. It was so hard. I still remember taking pictures of all the products and then manually writing down all the features. When I was tired, well, did I sometimes maybe forget something that would have been important, or even put down the wrong price? Oh my God, a disaster.
Yeah, that's
we
terrible.
are now, it's November right now. I don't know when this will be streamed, but we're facing Black Friday.
Yeah.
And exactly during those times, efficiency, time-wise, everything, it's really hard for everybody out there. So we now have a tool that is called Co-Author. And it's agnostic. So you can basically check every product information management system and just apply it for compliance, for generating text just from the picture of the product, with showing all allergens, with showing the right price. And if it feels that you did something wrong, for example, you have leather boots and it would say $9.99 instead of $99.99, it would say, is this really the right price for such a product? Or even worse, when it comes to nutritional effects, sometimes there's an allergen and you really have to show this. Did you forget to put this or write this down? So all the things that could really cost you a lot of money in the end, or that you are not allowed to forget. And it gives you texts that are SEO ready, for all optimized for all different marketplaces. And we can also show this in live demos at the moment. And I think this is, as I said, for me, that would have been a game changer at that time. Then it comes to everything marketing. Of course, we do the back end with Arvato Systems, but in our Bertelsmann companies, we also find agencies like Territory, for example, or Bertelsmann Marketing Services. They have now launched the Smart Agency, which is a hybrid system of really facilitating marketing for your whole company. So it automizes the website production, the pictures that you need, that it all is aligned for your brand, all the things that will really make you stand out even as a smaller company, which is for smaller companies, it's the most difficult thing, right? Like all the bigger enterprises, they have the money to invest into these tools. But for smaller companies, it's sometimes hard because they don't know, am I really allowed to use these pictures? It's super expensive. So they need, like, I would say, the smaller agents that help them survive or even thrive and become better, since there are so many social media tools that you are using right now, and you have to stay consistent. And I think this is what also this tool can help you with, just automizing these things and really giving you one strong, attractive use case where you can show your brand and where it stays aligned with your message.
You mentioned a couple of things like shipping the information to several different marketplaces, which can really be, every marketplace has its own nuances. It's very marketplace specific, a certain type of language or what's expected to be provided in terms of the information. That I think that can save tons of time and lead to much more conversions. And also you mentioned, now this is just one side of it, also that there are many other benefits. You mentioned also smaller companies, right? So when do-it-yourself technologies came many years ago, this was so beneficial for smaller companies that couldn't afford agencies, that couldn't afford all these expensive services or consultants. And now I feel like they have so many tools at hand. What is a small company in your opinion? You guys are also quite, you guys under Bertelsmann's group, so how do you consider, what's the smallest business that you guys can help out?
Well, I think with the Smart Agency, they are really approaching small companies, which means under 500 people. So what you call the German Mittelstand and the smaller businesses. I think this is really a try to do this as a SaaS solution for them. This is also new I think they haven't done this before in such a smaller size, but of course it converts. If you just have a number of businesses that will do this, and it's been done automatically, and it's scalable, I think this is the idea behind it. And this also shows that AI now opens up new business cases also for companies like vertical marketing services and territory within this field. And this is super interesting because I always feel that, of course, the enterprises, they are not as agile as the small businesses.
Totally.
And especially at the moment, we always have to look at what are they doing, what are startups doing, and what can we learn from them and adapt to, because we can provide the money in some way, right?
Yeah.
And if we really want to move forward, also in the German space, we have to work in this collaborative way of really empowering one another to find new solutions also in this very regulated space.
Yeah.
Because if we talk about AI and Europe, we have to say it's a lot more regulated than it is in other countries in the world.
True.
But on the other hand, this also gives us an advantage. If it works within the European Union, it will basically work everywhere.
Yeah.
And as much as we might hate GDPR and everything, it also gives us the opportunity to really learn how we can produce AI in an ethical way.
Yeah.
And I think we shouldn't underestimate that this can also have positive effects in the end, also for the customer.
Yeah, fantastic. And as you said, many of us kind of see the side of things. Hey, it can be frustrating because you have to comply with so many regulation. This can get quickly out of hand. You can become overwhelming, and can be the biggest roadblocker against innovation, right? So this is why many startups move elsewhere, or there are startups that have to pivot because, especially in AI, I know some AI startups that have to pivot because they cannot deal with changing regulations. It's becoming too difficult for them, right?
But we can take it as an advantage. I have one more example, and that we will be also presenting at the e-commerce expo next year. There has been this case in Germany where Aldi Süd, they have been doing promotions with 20% off.
Yeah.
And now the German judges said, well, it's kind of unfair because you just raised the prices 1 week before. So you have to look at the average of the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. But this is super complicated for a company to really fulfill this. Yeah. So we, coming back to the use cases, have now an AI that can track this for your company so that it gives you the right percentage number where you're totally safe against every lawsuit. And this is something where I said you can also use the regulations to build a product that will help companies to do the right things.
I mean, AI can help immensely there because human error can also cost your company a lot of money.
Exactly. And I think the lawsuit was against Aldi, and if they break it again, it was a really high number that they would have to pay. So maybe Aldi can do this. That's not a problem for them. But look at smaller companies who, of course, also want to do a promotion. And if there's, we call these data silos.
Yeah.
One enterprise has them with marketing, etc., and one entity doesn't know what the other is doing. And it becomes worse the bigger the company is. So integrating all this different data through an AI, and we are now discussing how can we prevent a new so-called AI zoo, where one entity chooses this AI and the other one that, and we again end in a silo where one doesn't know what the other one is doing. And I think we have this huge chance at the moment to do it in an integrative way with even smaller agents, but they need to talk to one another. Yeah. Maybe something that companies didn't do for a long time within their own system. And now we have the chance to maybe do it through the AI, which is very, very interesting.
I find it super interesting what you mentioned, the silo approach, right? So like there can be data silos that don't have any clue what the other silo is doing. What has to be done to have, like, in your opinion, obviously it makes sense to centralize AI processes. What do we have to do to get there?
Communication, I would say. This is always the
Obviously.
thing. I felt very privileged. You were talking about the networking effects also at Bertelsmann. We do this with the so-called leadership circles, where we send 1 or 2 people from each entity to talk about what they are doing. We also do this in local hubs so that we are really informed about what the other entities are now using, which products they're using, or what they are working on, so that not 3 people at the same time are doing the same thing without knowing from one another. And I always feel very privileged to do this within the network of enterprises as well. So that we talk to Vodafone, like what is their innovation lab doing? What is Lufthansa doing?
Yeah.
And it feels that you can really learn from one another what works and what doesn't work. You were also asking like, what did we learn? Mm-hmm. What was not working? And I think with AI in the beginning, we felt like this is now changing everything and everybody will be rich. I hear this so often about like every hype that we see in the Gartner hype cycle. Web3, everybody will be rich. Metaverse, everybody will be rich. Mm-hmm. Generative AI, everybody will be rich. But this is not how it works. We really have to build products. And this is why I said we need the enterprises and the ideas from the startup to bring them together and to see what is efficient and where can we really help people. Yeah. Because in the end, if we have only the goal to eliminate people from the working process, I think this is not what we want. We want tools that make it more efficient, more easy, and maybe simplify a process so that everybody can do it. Because, of course, there is a lack of workers for some companies, especially for insurances. We're doing a lot for insurances at the moment. Since, let's say, the younger generation, sometimes it's really difficult to know all the different products and to read a lot. TLDR, too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
Why are we doing a podcast and a video? Well, this content works better. And this is also something where you see like Runway facilitating content also for e-commerce by just producing a video from text and an image, which is so simple now. It takes a few seconds, but it works. We're visualizing things more and more. And we also wanted to talk about the omnisensoric experiences today, where I think this is really where it comes all together and where we'll see a lot more improvement in the next years.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to, before we get into omnichannel and omnisensatory experiences, I want to say one more thing about, you're absolutely right. Many of us have reservations in terms of what AI can also have as an impact, a negative impact. I think to name a few, that there could be job losses, there could be data security compromises, there could be other issues that we didn't even think of. Mm-hmm. How do you see that? I mean, do you see that there's this is not really well founded? I mean, do you think we are worrying too much, or is this something that we just have to go through and experiment, and it's worthwhile taking the risks? I'm just talking about e-commerce specifically.
Okay, I think that with
because we have the problem of sorry to interrupt. We have the problem of hallucinations. We could some AI experts say always check the results that are generated by generative AI because it does make mistakes. What's your take on that?
Well, let's start with the hallucinations. I think that we can prevent this, especially with knowledge AI, because knowledge AI is only fed with the information that it's supposed to know and to work with. I mean, at the moment, generative AI is working quite simple. Yeah. We offer information. It uses this information, and then it takes out the right information to give me what I was looking for. Yeah. The problem with ChatGPT, and I think this is why many people know this hallucinating effect, it's fed with so much information from all around the world, from all over the internet. Yeah. It's biased a lot, of course, because it's kind of the all-knowing ChatGPT generative AI in the world. Yeah. But what we do also at Arvato Systems for knowledge AI is feed the system only with the information it's supposed to have. Mm-hmm. And with this, we can eliminate the hallucinations to a minimal effect. Yeah. And this is also super interesting because if it comes to sustainability and the power, that all these systems are using, of course, the smaller the system, the less energy it will use. So it's very important to also think about smaller solutions when it comes to these effects, because I think everybody was kind of, oh my God, Bitcoin is so not sustainable. And I feel that not many people are talking about what generative AI is doing. If you use it in the way that you ask every question to ChatGPT, and then it runs through whatever many servers, and then it gives you an answer. But this is not really what we could call efficient. And you see it when bigger companies are using 3.5, or they used to use 3.5 instead of 4, because it was just not necessary. It didn't bring the effects. And if you already had like 80% improvement with 3.5 and 81 with 4, it was just not exact. It was not efficient enough, and then they made the decision for 3.5. And I think this is also something we have to evaluate. What we really need at the moment with all the different products that are out there in the market, to see what is really useful, what makes sense, and what could be a little bit, let's say, too much and not efficient in the end for how much is needed. This is also why I think that more and more systems are thinking about integrating other systems from the big players to just be more efficient, because they see that there's so much power being used that they never had to use before. And so we think about this in a different way. And I think this is what many companies are starting to do right now, and it's good. And then we are back again to collaboration and how can we integrate systems to make it work with one another. And this was also another question that you were asking, like, how does this integration work? And I think it works when we see, like, okay, this startup is doing this, they have a good solution for that. Why not integrate it in this system and make it even better? Or have competitive agents where you see, well, which one is performing better? We test it, maybe even on a blockchain. Here it comes back to decentralized infrastructure with Delta DAO, for example, who is doing this, or have them collaborate. So we have so many options at the moment. And I think it feels a little bit like going back to when mankind started to collaborate. You know, everybody had like their expertise. And if you had a really good expert, we're talking about this PIM system, co-author, and that could work with a really good image system. And bringing them together would make the whole journey so much easier, because then you have your bottle of water and you can just say, do a Halloween background, it will have a Halloween background, and all the other information, the metadata, will be generated by the co-author. And so you can integrate these two systems and have a super good solution.
I think most of us wish that these tools could just talk to each other, because they would do it at a velocity that we cannot even comprehend as human beings, and that just would change the journeys forever, you know. Just take a voice assistant like Alexa, for example, or your Google Assistant, or the assistant in your BMW car. They could all be much smarter, and like in ways that that also simple things, you know. That we're not there yet, but I have the feeling we are really at a time where innovation happens at exponential rate. And for the first time in the history of AI also, we are in these exciting times, you know?
Oh, and we wanted to come to more use cases. So now you were talking about the people who sit in their offices, but let's come to logistics. We're now establishing factories where they really learn from one another how they can facilitate the logistic process with Arvato, for example. They are building the first factory with generative AI together with Microsoft, where the system really learns from itself of how to improve the process. So you will see it everywhere. I was on stage with Alibaba, and they now have their first AI for bringing buyer and seller together. And this is so mind-blowing. You just have a prompt for what you're looking for in the B2B. I think it's still in beta now. I don't know how long it will be, but I was testing it and it was like, wow, okay. In the past, when you were sourcing, you had to have some information to know somebody, and now this data is open for everybody. It will change so much, and it will also facilitate for smaller companies who can use this properly. And I think this will be like the the information knowledge of how to use these products, this will be the distinguishing part of who will have a good job in the future and who might have not.
Yeah, it's one thing to look at like, hey, are we losing the jobs? We look back on the Industrial Revolution, hey, who wants to collect carrots one by one anymore? You know what I mean? So I think there are many people also in sourcing that could wish their lives could be much more efficient, because inevitably you are always betting on the companies within this pool getting the product that best fits your description. But it could be made at scale much more efficient, much faster, and much better quality also. It's just incredible. So you tested this, and you think it's looking promising?
I think so. I hope. I've never been a sourcer myself, but I then sent it to somebody who is, and he also said, "Wow, this is kind of really, really cool."
That's so exciting.
So let's trust the process. It's called Accio, ACCIO. And whoever is interested, I think it will be available for everybody quite soon.
It's free advertisement for them, so anyone
I think it's not only advertisement. It's just like the knowledge of knowing what's happening in the market at the moment. So I don't know about Amazon if they bring out something like this as well. This is my network effect again. As I said, what I know I can talk about. What I don't know I cannot talk about. What we wanted to talk about, use cases, specific ones. So
for me also super interesting to have you in the podcast, because you have retailers that benefit from your solutions. So you real life examples, and today I'm hoping to hear a lot more examples also, like about what is possible today, but also in a bit like what's possible in the future. If you have any other examples on your mind that we could also mention in terms of like what you've done, what you've implemented with your customers, that you'd like to share, I'd be very curious.
Well, with our co-author, we are really working with the automotive industry at the moment, which is of course super interesting, since Germany needs them. It's I also drive a German car, and I think it's still super important, and I have a lot of trust that this is something that will also survive and thrive in the future, since, as I said, they are already using all these innovations, and they have been using them for quite a while, to be honest. So I think even if people always say, well, okay, it's such a traditional conservative industry, they have been testing these things for sometimes over 20 years.
Crazy.
And if we want to talk about like what I do also with the convergence and the immersiveness of the omnisensoric experiences, if we now look what is happening in the stores for retail, it has to be the combination of omnichannel solutions. So coming from one touch point to the other seamlessly. If I enter a shop, do I really need all the stuff that's in there, or do I need some products that are enhanced with virtual reality or augmented reality, a virtual try-on, and then this is all delivered to my house or wherever, and it makes it, you have a lot more space, a lot more freedom, and it will be personalized. And I think if we talk about what the future holds, it's a lot more personalized content. We are also doing this, for example, with loyalty. At the moment, I think loyalty is a super important topic. Also for brands, we used to have a payback, Deutschlandcard, etc. But at the moment, of course, everybody wants the first party data. So how do you get access as a brand? And this is why so many are launching their own loyalty programs at the moment. But loyalty has to offer more than it did in the past. Because in the past, there was no community. If I was a Miles & More member, did I know if you are too? Could we do anything together with this? Maybe I could transfer in a very complicated process some miles to a friend or a family member. But now what Lufthansa is doing with Uptrip, for example, is really promoting something for Gen Z or everybody under the age of 35, also promoted through TikTok. And let's make loyalty a community thing. Let's do it together. Let's let's exchange what we have collected if somebody needs it, and let's get to know one another.
Yeah.
And I think this is what makes experiences so much more lively also, because you're always talking to people. In the end, you want to have a good time. And if the brand offers you these experiences that are not only, you get a pen if you have these many points here. And I think, what I always felt was the most community-like thing, exchanging stickers at the checkout. You say, oh, well, I need them for my kids. You need them too. And now you can do this in a digital way.
Yeah.
And this is so cool. And we have been doing this for Ergo Insurances with an app for their employees, where everybody who attends the digital morning gets a reward. They can collect pieces, puzzle pieces, and then even mint them as an NFT.
Wow.
So maybe in the future, this will be interoperable also with other companies or with other entities within the companies. And I think already starting to build on this, like Lufthansa with Uptrip, you can also mint this as an NFT in the end, will be very interesting, because you get a lot new data. You see what is in their wallet. You can even track this, and it will become even more interesting if we think of digital twins.
Yeah.
So in the future, there will not only be people that have an identity, but it will be machines. It will be a lot more things, the Internet of Things, that is interconnected. And if we look at games like Roblox, they are making so much money because they offer the combination of social media in a totally new way, where people can interact in a totally different way, because they don't have to post pictures. Like we produce content on LinkedIn, etc. But isn't it a pain in the ass to take a picture of yourself? It's sometimes very embarrassing. Now you have an avatar. So even if you really look like whatever, it doesn't matter. You have your avatar. It always looks mint condition. Whatever it wears, it's always in mint condition. And this is why especially younger children and this whole Gen Z is ready to pay for that.
Yeah.
Like I was also
Roblox has in Germany 5 million users.
And I think they have over 80 million unique users per day, and it's still growing so fast. And if we add Minecraft, Fortnite, all these different platforms, I mean, also BMG, of course, was using Fortnite. Yeah. And I think we had with the artist KSI, we had a time-limited event on Roblox 2 or 3 years ago already. Yeah. And it was really working very, very well. These digital T-shirts, I think people still cannot imagine that the value is quite the same as a normal T-shirt, because you can wear it every day, and I can show it to my friends, and I can tell them, well, see, I have attended this event. And now it comes back to the omnisensoric experience. Yeah. What if I now go to the shop and am able to buy this shirt as a real T-shirt as well, because I like it so much? So I think we can really think about totally new customer journeys and experiences that give not only my digital, but also my physical assets a whole new value. And the interesting part, I can make it as exclusive as I want, even in the digital space.
I was pretty shocked. We had BMW in the podcast, and she was telling us about how they created BMW cars in Fortnite, and how she can imagine that people will be willing to pay almost the same price that they would pay a real car in the virtual world. And that just kind of blew my mind, because it's kind of like being at the age group perhaps that I am. It's a bit unimaginable for me right now at this point in time, but it's actually crazy that there's this generation of users that can imagine spending lots of money on virtual goods.
But is it really? Because I mean, we also give physical products. Talk about Dubai chocolate.
Oh, don't get me started.
This is a virtual value.
My wife just bought Dubai chocolate for my sister-in-law, because apparently it's her favorite chocolate. And I'm like, I saw Dubai chocolate at home, and I was thinking, how the hell did this thing get here?
But tell me, is this the physical value or the value that we attach to this product?
Yeah.
And I think this is the best example to show you that this has happened before with tulips. in the 17th century.
Yeah.
It is the value that we give a product.
Yeah.
And this can, and I think what people forget is that the digital world, of course, it's still developing. But as we already see, it is becoming more and more relevant. For Roblox, kids spend 2.5 hours average each day. So this is the average amount that they spend in a digital world. What about TikTok? Have you seen all the avatars, influencers that can talk in every language? I love it. I love to shop these things. It's so cool.
So it opens so many doors to reach out to people that never even knew about you, like your content, and that you can just play this out in so many languages and cultural contexts.
But this is where the lines are becoming blurry. This is what I want to say.
Yeah.
If there was in the 90s, we had Matrix, and it was this blue pill, red pill thing.
Yeah.
And even Keanu Reeves, you have seen the interview on The Verge. Even he realized at this party where he was talking to his friend's daughter, who was 15 years old or so, why is this even important anymore?
Yeah.
And I think in this moment, just 30 years later, it became so obvious that the virtual space and the real world are kind of emerging and coming together. And this is what we really have to know when it comes to e-commerce, omnichannel, and what I would say is omnichannel plus.
Yeah.
How do we really integrate all the different glasses that are coming, all the new options that we have into our process of e-commerce?
Yeah.
So that it really stays a seamless story where my brand is always my brand at every single touch point I see. And this is always where where brands would lose me. If there's kind of an interruption in the process. So if I have my glasses, whatever they are, I'm not the biggest fan of these large goggles. But when it comes to Meta Ray-Ban, and this AI tells me something, and I want to shop something in the future, or with Orion, or whatever coming with the AR glasses, or spectacles from Snap. So we have so many different options. X-Real. We have a company that is called Viture that is coming from China as well. There are so many options, and it will be everywhere. It will be present. It will be a seamless experience to have these. And just like the glasses in the past, they kind of enhanced my vision. So it stays the same thing, but now it even enhances what I see.
Yeah.
Who is this? Where can I buy this? Where can I find this? Because I think even for Kleinanzeigen, it might be interesting if my goggles direct me to the location that is next. It becomes kind of the flea market effect that it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And coming back into the real world where it was only digital, coming back to where it came from.
Or in physical retail in general, you know what I mean? Like you're sitting in the metro, there's someone sitting in front of you. You could be curious, hey, where did where'd you get the boots from? You know what I mean? Instead of asking, or like influencers, you read under influencer posts like, hey, where'd you get the clothes from? Blah, blah, blah. This could be like, just you skip the questions.
You're using Google Lens as well, right?
I mean, I'm experimenting with these things, but don't use it on a daily basis.
It's not that effective yet. This is why I think we need new solutions. It's still the dress I'm wearing. I'm trying to get this because I love it so much again.
Yeah.
I looked for it. There's still a lot of space for improvement to really direct me to the right place where I can get it directly, and maybe even also closer. Talking about sustainability again, it could be one of the relevant features. Well, this you can find within 2 kilometers, and you can just take your bike and go there.
And I think in e-commerce, this will open so many doors. Like actually, for me, the biggest question is when. And maybe let's start with omni-channel experience, right? So thinking about 6-7 years ago, we were all super excited about these in-store digital experiences, like extended shelf. You don't have to store everything on site. You just like kind of see the rest of the shelf digitally, right? So we had an imagination of omni-channel in a way that is just opened so many new possibilities. But then again, with VR and AR, these technologies, you are talking about this immersive experience for the first time, that you, it's not unlike the common belief. It's not something like you sit in your living room and just experience with your goggle, like you're not talking to anyone. You're like this kind of asocial person, Rather, it's it's the gateway to a community that you can interact with. I started thinking about that lately. And also physical experience. How do you have sensory experiences like smelling, touching, like visuals, in all in one place?
We were talking about use cases. You were talking about BMW. I mean, when I buy a car, even if it's a really expensive car, what happens at the store? There's somebody sitting behind his computer. What color?
Yeah.
Wow, what a shopping experience. So great. 80,000 at checkout. Okay, cool. But now imagine I enter this super cool space. I mean, you see this a lot at the moment in the cities. Yeah, these small, unfortunately, it's most of the time cars that are maybe not from Germany. But you have one product, and then you have your goggles, and basically you can immerse yourself in whatever car you want this to be. We have seen it with Cupra. We have seen it with Lamborghini. And I think this makes shopping a car so much more interesting and enhances this experience for the customer. I can just click through the colors. You could
just be sitting in a Lamborghini right there.
Exactly, and I can just click. Colors are so important for me. This is so bad, but it's really like, if it's the wrong color, I don't like it. Yeah. And I had exactly this experience. Like, no, this gray is not available, but you can choose a different color. But I didn't know how this color really looks like. So he can just show me the small button of, this is the color. I'm like, how does it look on the car? And he didn't have an example. And now I imagine myself sitting there, and I would even wear the goggles for this half hour. This is totally fine. With the Apple Vision Pro, you really get like this experience. This is how it will look like. Yeah. And then I see my final car. I see the leather, and I can feel it, even if it's not the right color. I can sit in the car and feel the leather, and I can smell it, and I can feel how I can sit in this car. Oh my God, I would so have loved this experience. And I hope this is one of the examples where I really see it. Also with all luxury goods, but even with the not so expensive products, I think you can enhance a lot. And there it comes back to loyalty. There's this one. You said I'm not allowed to do advertisements, but I like Pandora.
I never said that. You're more than welcome to.
I like Pandora. Yeah. And Pandora, if you listen to this, please reach out, because it would be one of my favorite clients. Because they have been living for this collecting, sharing experiences thing forever. And this is something where I see so much opportunities also in the digital space when it comes to loyalty, friendship, maybe having a special reward, but not as a real charm, but as a digital one, that you get a unique one that you get for your birthday, that you can use on Roblox or any other platform. What Lamborghini has been doing now with their new NFT collection for gaming. And I think a lot more is coming also from Louis Vuitton with the digital twins. I think from 2025 on, they want to offer a digital twin for every real bag that is being bought. And it will be so interesting because you can track them, you can sell them. So you kind of even extend your ownership into the digital world. And it will be super interesting to see how this is being used, how this new market develops. So and for Pandora, I would see so many opportunities in just doing this as the friendship jewelry collection worldwide that has always been existing in the physical space and could just be extended to the virtual world as well.
Yeah, it's super inspiring. And one question that keeps popping up in my head is, for many e-commerce businesses, it's pretty much right now about like average order values, conversion rates, year-on-year growth, and all these things, and the pay-per-click. Just like there's this operative e-commerce engine that, when they would listen to this podcast, talking about like this really crazy world, and how does this translate to their world? I mean, when will they be looking at these KPIs for these channels, and when do you think these immersive technologies will become more and more mainstream? I mean, we have, like, when you look at the big brands like Adidas and Puma, like Web3, and like they all are part of it. They're experimenting with their communities, blah, blah, blah. But for the average Joe in terms of the e-commerce business, when should they tap into this?
I think it's already happening. The term relationship economy is growing very fast, and it's exactly how do I extend my KPIs if I look into long-term relationships with a customer. And we have been learning this over the recent years with social media. Social commerce is now coming, and you know what? There's a very, very easy way to look into the future. Look at what China is doing.
Yeah.
And it's not even, I always say, we have this kind of luxurious position at the moment to see the future right in front of our eyes. The question is whether we want to accept this or not in some ways, and whether we want to open our eyes that this might be something that is happening here as well or not. Social commerce will be huge, and it kind of combines everything that we have been talking about, and it will be entering every aspect of our lives. And if I said, I mean, our claim is we empower digital leaders at Arvato Systems. So we think and we live that we have to partner with companies to do this together, to develop it together, because as you said, average Joe, well, this is totally cool. It's totally cool to be an average Joe. This is nothing.
I like that.
This is nothing that you have to like, oh my God, I don't know about these things. You don't have to know about these things because the pace is so fast. So we want to empower you to do this together. And it's totally okay, because I mean, this is the power of our economy. To do sales, to do it with the KPIs that we know. But if we find like these small extensions that might not even be too hard to implement, hey, why not take a look at it and be curious?
One of the things I learned starting in marketing is that the more you spend, the more you could earn. Like it applies to also businesses. The more you work with the right partners, the more you can boost your business, right? So you cannot in-house everything, and you won't have the resources. Maybe some companies can afford that, but in many cases, you want to work with the right stakeholders to help you tap into certain technology. So that makes perfect sense to me. And you've mentioned several accounts, customers that benefited from Arvato Systems and the kind of technologies you implemented for them. I think we talked about social commerce. We talked about all kinds of new things we've been talking about in the podcast. TikTok Shop coming to European countries, starting in UK, Spain, and expanding. I've recently seen that they're experimenting with affiliate networks on live streams in the US. So it's a matter of time that this also comes here. It is a little bit slow in Germany for obvious reasons. We have more regulation, a bit more difficult here. But also you mentioned throughout the conversation that this might not be a bad thing per se, because then we can learn, hey, if we made it in Germany, we can make it anywhere. And this can also have an ethical impact. So I think I've learned so much listening to you and how you connect all these dots across the board. Thank you so much. And I want to end with asking you one more question. So all that being said, if you could have the chance to give e-commerce businesses 3 tips to tap into all that we've talked about, what would those be?
So the first one is always be curious, connect with others, even if you feel it's your competitor. And this is why I opened my network. I said there is no competition that is not allowed. I would invite Telecom as well as Vodafone and O2 or Telefonica to just learn from one another. What you're not allowed to talk about, what is ND8 is ND8.
Yeah.
But also try to meet people who have the same challenges that you have to learn from one another. Because as I said, when I entered this space, we are all new into this. And then find the right partner who you feel you can work together with. There was also this very interesting collaboration between Lidl and Disney, which might feel super strange, but it's exactly that also media is looking into new ways to be promoted. So there is no unless you have it. So, and then I feel like everybody is so open at the moment that you can really talk to them and ask every question. There are no dumb questions. And then please reach out. You will also find us at the e-commerce expo in Berlin. And I made something happen that many felt is quite impossible. I brought 4 entities from Bertelsmann together, where we will show that we have the integration of backend with Arvato Systems, logistics with Arvato, finance with Riverty, and marketing with Bertelsmann Marketing Services. So we are living this.
It's incredible.
In our company.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to that. That's not easy, bringing all those people together. And
it should.
Yeah, it's
not
always
that complicated.
Yeah, not always, but yeah, it's very much looking forward to it.
And talk to your colleagues as well.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll wrap it up. That's a nice way to end this beautiful conversation. Anna, thank you so much for coming all this way to have this conversation with us, and we'll see us at the expo.
Thank you very much, Eva. It was a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the EGN Podcast. If you found our discussion insightful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your support helps us grow and improve our content. See you next time.